Da 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 do da 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 da.
I don't know if we're gonna get sued for that song.
Okay, let me.
No, that's good. That's good.
Hey, welcome to Movie Night with Marcos and Paulina. We're a couple talking about movies.
That is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Today we wanted to talk about Little Women, the 2019 version by Greta Gerwig, based off of Little Women, the novel by Louisa May Alcott. So right off the bat, I think we both want to say that we really like the movie.
I love this movie. Marcos loves this movie.
I really like the movie.
We both really love it.
I've never seen the other version. I think it's the 1994 version with Winona Ryder. I've never seen that one.
Winona Ryder.
Okay, I didn't know how to say her name. And I've also never read the book. Now, Paulina, I think you've read part of the first half of the book.
I can't remember rightly if I read it all the way through or not, but I definitely grew up with the story. So
yeah,
grew up watching the original. I've seen not only the 2019 version, but also the other recent version that came out of it. So I definitely am very familiar with the story.
Yeah. What is the story?
The story is a coming-of-age movie. So we've been really all about these coming-of-age movies.
I guess we're pretty young. Them. We can relate to them, kind of.
Yeah. It's a coming-of-age movie set in the Civil War time. And it follows four sisters as they essentially grow up during this time. And it's a really beautiful story about kind of saying goodbye to your childhood and putting away childish things.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised I like the movie so much because I don't have any sisters. I don't have any siblings. I guess what really resonated with me was the idea of growing up is kind of sad in a way. And you have to say, there's always these little things that you say goodbye to, and as happy as, for example, one of the sisters gets married, and that's kind of a sad thing that one of your family relatives leaves the family to start their own family. I think it's pretty universal. Yeah,
definitely. And even if you were like me and you were in a huge rush to grow up, I was in a rush to grow up, but I still didn't want things to change. So essentially, I kind of wanted to catch up to my siblings and finally be on the same page with them. And it wasn't until maybe last year when I started actually talking about this that I realized, wow, I am never going to catch up to them. I'm in the phase of the life that they were in when I was a teenager, a little girl. And because my oldest sibling is 20 years older than me, and I have 6 siblings. So it's this really big span of siblings. So we're obviously never going to be in the same stage of life in the same way as we were when we were kids and growing up in my parents' home. So I think it's still very relatable even for those who were in a rush to grow up, because it just kind of shows that whole feeling that you have when you realize that you're never going to be a child ever again. That's something
really
that you say goodbye to.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's depressing so much as it feels a little bittersweet. It feels, gives you that feeling of nostalgia.
I agree with the bittersweetness especially. So I'll start with describing what I really liked. I really liked they call it nonlinear storytelling. So basically, the actual novel has beginning to end, starts with the sisters as kids, and it takes them through adulthood.
And the Winona Ryder version also is linear.
Yeah. What's cool about this version is that it goes back and forth. And I know maybe some people didn't like that, but it's so cool how they do it. When they are back 7 years earlier, I think it's 7 years, the colors are so bright and red, and it's so obvious that it's a happier time. The movie really knows how to use its colors to make it seem like this was the best time of your life.
I didn't notice that at all, but Marcos always notices the kind of the colors. Well, actually, I do now that you've mentioned them. I notice colors a lot more than I used to in filmmaking.
And when they go into the present time, or I guess 7 years later, everything's so hard. It's so
blue and green. There's some green, which green is a positive color, but I guess the green that they show is more...
It's more like gray.
It's like an olive gray green.
And it's just, to me, it was really obvious when when how the main character Jo perceives like the time. She's obviously very nostalgic about her younger days. And I just thought it was so smart. And some people didn't always follow when the time had shifted. So they don't use different actors for the 7-year difference. They use the same exact actors.
Which is a little disconcerting the first time you watch it, because Amy, I think she's supposed to be like 8.
She has the deepest
or
voice,
10.
by the way.
Yeah, she has a really deep voice. She's supposed to be 10, and this is a 24-year-old actress pretending to be, or acting like she's 10. So when we first watched the movie in the theaters, I was like, "Oh, I don't like that. That's weird."
I actually noticed that she makes her voice really high pitched, and it's kind of funny. Like when her hand gets cut,
like she's
yeah,
more whiny.
Yeah, exactly. To make it believable, I guess. But
yeah,
I thought that it still worked.
I mean, it works, but it's hard to buy into.
Yeah. What didn't work for me as much was some characters I couldn't tell, like the age progression. Like Meg was hard to tell for me.
Yeah, Meg was played by Emma Watson.
Which I didn't love her acting. I thought she did okay.
It was not great. And the more I thought about it, I was like, what has she even been in that I thought she was a good actress in? She did Beauty and the Beast, the live action version, and I thought it was not good. I love Beauty and the Beast, and it was just not my favorite, and she didn't do a very good job. And in this movie, it was the same way. She felt very awkward. It felt very awkward when she was on the screen most of the time.
Did you like her in Perks of Being a Wallflower?
I don't think I did.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that
I don't remember either. I really also like the aesthetic. How many stories of like the Civil War do you like watch frequently? You know, there's a lot of period dramas that I know you watch, and they usually take place in, I guess.
Yeah,
England.
I mean, most of the ones I watch are pre-Civil War, and they're usually set in England, not in the United States.
So I really like that. It's just a different setting that you don't see too often.
Yeah, and if you do see it, it's usually about the actual war and not about domestic life. And that's the other really cool part, and they mention it in the movie of Jo is a writer, and she's writing, at the end, she writes a novel, and it's all about her life with her sisters. And she says, who wants to read about domestic life? And it turns out, I'm pretty sure it's Little Women. It's never been out of print.
Really?
Yeah. So anyway, obviously it was successful, and that's what I'm saying. It was cool. It's a movie about domestic life. It's not about the war, even though it's set in the time of a monumental war. It's not necessarily even a love story, and they make that quite clear as well. It's a coming of age movie.
I also, going along with that thought of it's just a lot of home life, I really like the cute events, like when they share the food with that poor family, and then the Mr. Lawrence gives them an even bigger feast. It just feels so like wholesome in a lot of ways, especially in the past.
Yeah.
Even like the sadder moments, they felt so real, in my opinion. So what did you like about the movie?
What I liked, very similar to what you said, but I did love the color. I love noticing the set design. So one of the reasons why I adore these movies is because the set designs are just beautiful. I love the whimsical painting, and in the house you see the difference from the downstairs to the upstairs, and the upstairs is where the girls would play make-believe and do their plays and write, and they're all really creative. Amy is a painter, Jo is a writer, Meg is an actress, Beth is a musician. So I just think it's so beautiful to see the fruits of their creativity in the upstairs rooms of the house. So I think it's just beautiful, and it really draws you into the world, which also is the other part that I love, that their creativity, their success. You know, I mean, I love seeing these female characters in this time where they truly have talent and they have genius. And I just think that was so amazing that Louisa May Alcott created these characters, and their talents are of more of the creative kind, you know, but I just think that's really just very inspiring as someone who grew up wanting to write and I grew up being, more on the artistic side
Me too.
of things.
I was not a sports person at
Yeah.
all.
So I think it's really fun, and I can relate a lot to that. When I first watched the movie, I cried, and most of the times that I've rewatched it, I have cried.
Teared up a little bit.
Yeah, DeMarcus did too. So it's just, they did such an amazing job of capturing the feelings that you have when you're close to your siblings and you don't want to say goodbye to that part of your life, but time goes on, life goes on, and you create your own family, or you pursue your career like Joe did, and maybe that sometimes means that you're lonely. So I just think they did an amazing job of capturing those emotions and being very authentic to the story, and I think that's very commendable.
That was beautiful. Are you done with what you wanted to say?
I think those are the main positive points. So we've talked about the things that we both liked about the movie. What are some things you didn't like?
I didn't like some of the actors, like Laurie. I thought he was a good actor, but it's kind of hard to believe that he's, there's a 7-year difference with him, and he was kind of unlikable. I know it's part of like his character, but
how is he unlikable?
He was.
And who is Laurie?
Laurie is the son. Is he the son of
He's the grandson.
He's the grandson of a wealthy man that lives next to.
Of their wealthy neighbor.
Yeah, Mr. Lawrence, who lives next to the sisters and Marmee, and he kind of lives in this wealthier state. Like he'll go to these parties, these balls, these dances. I think some of the sisters, they want, well, at least like Meg wants to be like part of that culture, and Laurie kind of just takes it for granted.
So are you saying that Laurie looks too young all the time, or?
Yes.
Okay. I think that actually worked really perfectly because the actor looks so young, even though, you don't see any difference in those 7 years. Laurie himself is a very childish character.
He is.
And I think that's why you think he's unlikable as well. He's very childish. He kind of is in things for the fun. And I think he's a very childish character. So I think it works out that he kind of looks so youthful.
What did you not like about it?
A few minor things I didn't like was, same with you, the actors. So Emma Watson, I thought, did an okay job. Also, the actor for their father, who is a pastor for the army, he was the actor from Better Call Saul. I don't really know what
Bob Odenkirk, is that his name? He felt very out of place, I agree.
He walked in on the scene, and I was like, what?
In theaters.
Is this a joke?
You looked at me.
Yeah, Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah.
I was just shocked at the casting for that. And I also hate I don't hate her, but I really don't like the actress from Marmee either. She was in Star Wars, and she was okay in Star Wars, but I don't love her. Something about her face looks like a little patronizing to me, and her voice. She's always talking like in a whisper a little bit, so...
Yeah.
So there's some weird casting, in my opinion.
I thought the actresses for Joe and Amy did a really good job.
They were great. And Beth was good, too.
Beth was
I mean, her character in itself is a much quieter character, but I thought she did a good job, and she was casted well. But Amy and Joe definitely were the more dynamic actresses, and they're also the more dynamic characters.
Yeah, I think they deserve their Oscar nominations. I don't know if they won, but... they did really good. Did you like the changes to the ending?
Yeah, so it ends with Joe. In the book, Joe ends up with a professor after Laurie proposes to her, and she says no. She moves to New York to be a writer and meets Professor Bear there.
That's his name?
Professor Bear, yeah.
He's French, right? Yeah.
No, I think he's German or Belgian.
Oh.
I don't know, something. Yeah. He's European. And in the book, that's how it ends. Now, a lot of people argue that Louisa May Alcott herself, this is a semi-autobiographical book that she wrote. She never got married. she's Joe. And they argue that she didn't want her character to get married, but that she felt pressured to end it that way. So in the movie, what they decided to do was they kind of show the happy ending for Joe, but only as the ending to the book that she wrote, which was also
called Little Women.
Called Little Women and semi-autobiographical. So it's sort of just this little circle within a circle. But
it's weird that you get two endings almost.
Yeah, it's like you get two endings because you get the ending of her book, which is that she ends up with Professor Bear. And then you get the actual ending, which is that she doesn't end up with anyone, but finishes with creating a school for the children.
You know, I didn't understand why she was so hesitant to make Joe end up with Professor Bayer, where there's a scene in the movie where she says, "I'm so lonely." She doesn't...
No, that's true, but I think her loneliness, when in that scene when she's saying, maybe I regretted saying no to Lori, or Teddy, as she calls him, her loneliness was stemming from the death of her sister, and Amy being gone to Europe, Meg being married, and she was even saying, well, maybe I made a mistake turning him down. And when Marmee asks her, well, do you love him? She says, well, I care more to be loved. So her loneliness, I don't think stems from a lack of romantic partner, but rather from simply being alone. She had no companion. She grew up with her best friends being her sisters, and they were all gone.
Yeah, I guess there is a happy ending in knowing that she's with her family. She's not lonely.
Yeah, and she finds purpose in teaching.
Yeah.
And writing.
I didn't hate the ending where they made it obvious that she shouldn't have ended up with the professor.
Yeah.
But
I love Professor Bear, though.
Really?
He's sweet. Yeah.
I mean, I liked him in the movie. He was really nice.
I'm all for the romantic endings, but...
No, me too. Maybe it's just like because it's a cliche and I'm used to it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like in the beginning, you don't see too much of Joe and Professor Bayer, but I like when
it's the not professor developed that much.
Yeah. I did like when the professor's reading her novels and he's like, they're terrible. And
not novels, her stories, her short stories.
And like he obviously wants to make her the best version of herself.
Yeah, he believes in her ability to.
Yeah, and I would argue that Laurie wouldn't have done that.
He would have just praised her. Yeah. And Joe needs someone who's not just going to praise her all the time.
Even if it does make her angry.
Yeah, but I do think so that kind of touches on one of the parts of the movie that is cool to talk about, I think, which is each of the sisters sort of has a fault or major flaw that they struggle with and that they work on throughout the movie. So let's start with Meg, the oldest. And I think we kind of go back and forth on hers and the youngest, Amy. So Meg seems to really care about what she looks like and wants to have pretty things and mentions that she doesn't want to work anymore and she's tired of being poor. So I think her main flaw or fault is that she is envious of others, of her friends who don't have to work and who have money, and I think that's made pretty clear throughout the movie. It also looks like vanity because she cares about what she looks like, but I think there's this moment where she buys really expensive material for a dress and she does it in front of her friend. So I think it's to show her friend, look, I can buy it too.
And she says she was feeling pressured to buy it.
Yeah, because her friend can buy whatever she wants and she can't. So
I think we can all kind of relate to that feeling.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, where everyone has something better than you, and there's a culture, at least in the U.S., of like keeping up, which can definitely become an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of defining the flaw. You can call that whatever you think best fits it. I don't know if it's vanity or envy, but one of those I think is kind of encompasses that, or either of them. For Joe, what do you think Joe's is?
That she is hot-tempered.
Yeah.
Well, she obviously has strong emotions, but I also feel like it's hard to describe because she's a very independent woman, and I think she can be stubborn in some way about it. It's almost like she doesn't want anyone's help.
Yeah, she wants to be independent. She wants to be different too.
Oh yeah, I think she goes out of her way to be different.
Enneagram 4.
Is that what she is?
I would think so. Or maybe an 8.
Okay, let's go back to Meg. What would her Enneagram be?
Meg's Enneagram? I think she would be a 9.
Oh, she's like me then?
Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry. Back on track to Joe.
Or 6.
Yeah.
She has a lot of loyalty, Meg.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But with Joe, because she's the main character, you are definitely rooting for her to have like this happy ending. And for me, it looked a little different for her. I didn't know anything about Little Women. I thought she was going to end up with Laurie, even towards the end. And there's that part where she writes that letter that she's like, oh, I made a mistake. I should have been with you.
Out of loneliness.
And it was obviously a mistake that she, like, I think her emotions let it get the better of her. So she is definitely hot-tempered. And that she can make like impulsive division. Yeah.
Then we have Beth. Beth is the sweet, quiet musician. They say it that she's the best of them, right? And she actually passes away in the movie of Scarlet Fever that just never leaves her. And I think her flaw, if you can call it that, is her timidity. So she's so shy that she hardly ever leaves the home. And it's difficult for her to, I guess...
I think she overcame her timidness when she got the piano from Mr. Lawrence. And I think
she went over to thank him.
Yeah, I think that would take a lot of guts for anyone who's
or even
timid.
when he offered her to use his piano, she did go and use it.
And so, she did ask, like, no one can hear me, right?
And there were moments when she would speak out with her sisters, well, I'm going to go. So even though they wouldn't really listen to her, she did say her opinion. So, yeah, maybe her flaws aren't really...
It's almost funny. I thought she was the youngest just because no one listens to her and she's quiet. And for some reason, I perceive that as the youngest because Amy is the youngest, but she's so loud.
Yeah.
That I guess she just carries more.
I'm the
weight.
Youngest. I'm super loud. No one listens to me, but I'm still loud.
I guess I know nothing.
Same
about
thing
siblings.
with Amy.
Yeah.
Amy is loud, obnoxious, self-absorbed.
Wow. Do you really relate with Amy?
I do. I relate a lot with Amy. I relate a lot with Joe and Amy. So Joe, because she's a writer and she's hot-tempered, she's independent. I'm very much like that. But I'm a lot like Amy, and it makes me mad because I feel like Amy has so many flaws, and she's not really that likable. But
especially when she burns that book of Joe's.
Yeah, she burns Joe's book that Joe had been writing.
Yeah. And she gave the worst apology ever.
Yeah, she did. But Amy's flaw, I think, is, and this is why I think she's similar to Meg. I think it's vanity and envy because she is envious of Joe. And you kind of don't realize that until later in the movie when Teddy, also known as Laurie, starts talking to Amy in a more romantic way. And Amy says, don't do that to me, not when I've been second to Joe my whole life. So Amy definitely compares herself to Joe. And it holds her back sometimes. And it makes her do some things that aren't right. But I think it can also play into the flaw of vanity because I don't know, do you think she's vain? I mean, she cares a lot about her nose, and she made a what is it called, a model of her foot to remind Laurie that she has nice feet. She did that as a kid.
Yeah, I think she is vain, but I think she overcomes it pretty easily when she doesn't accept the proposal of that one guy she's been courting.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So I think she has it more under control. I really do think it's more of
the envy.
Yeah, and she's envious of her older sister and she has, FOMO. She wants to be included in all these things, and Joe's doing all these cool things with Laurie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think definitely.
So maybe I mean, and not that they can't both have the same one, but now that I think about it more, it makes sense that it would be vanity because she wanted her friend to see her buy the fabric. And she's jealous of what her friends have, but she wants to look good. So maybe Meg's vanity, Joe is hot temper, Beth timidity and Amy envy.
Yeah. What would you say Laurie's flaw is?
Laurie's flaw is his immature.
Yeah. I was going to say, I really relate to Laurie.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. Not completely, but I can remember, I'm an only child. And if I saw like this happy family of 4 siblings doing all these cool things, I would get like kind of how Laurie gets. He would want to seek like that companionship, I guess.
Yeah. That
friendship that those sisters have. And you might act out on it a little bit, but very surface level. I mean, obviously I was immature as a kid, but what kid isn't? I do like that he grows up a little bit. I think he grew when he realized that Joe isn't the one for him. I think it takes a lot of maturity to realize that this person that you loved your whole life, they're not the one. So I think that's when in the movie he developed.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it was definitely, it's just such and I think it's a really great Christmas movie.
The Christmas scenes are so nice.
The Christmas scenes are so
They're
nice.
so red
and it just
and
already
bright.
feels from the start, even when it's not set during, even when the scene isn't during Christmas, it just feels like a Christmas movie.
In the happy parts. In the sad parts, it doesn't seem like
in the happy parts, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember the old movie, like I'm imagining the VHS tape cover. I think it is like a snowy cover. So I think it is associated with Christmas.
I don't know if I already asked you, but do you prefer the not original, the 1994 version?
No, I prefer this version.
Yeah.
I think what did you call it? Non-linear timeline. At first, I thought it was weird when I saw it in the theater.
It's
but
so cool.
I really did I thought it did a lot for the character development, and I thought it was very powerful, a very cool move on the director's part. And also in the 1994 version, it is, I mean, it's good. I loved it as a kid. But I just think the actress for Joe, I don't know how to say her name. It's
Winona Ryder?
No, for Joe in the new one.
Oh, Ronan. Her last name is Ronan. The first name starts with an S.
I think I really preferred her.
I really like her acting, and I liked her in
character.
Lady Bird, which is another movie that the director made.
Too.
I think she just does a really good job of sounding like a young, strong woman.
Yeah. And I just think this 2019 version was such a well-rounded film. It covered the aesthetics, the characters, the music is beautiful too. It was just great. It's a beautiful movie.
So it sounds
great
like
for families.
Sounds like your only nitpick is that some of the casting could have been better.
Yeah, some of the casting could have been better, and I guess that is my only nitpick.
So you didn't think it was hard to follow like the timeline of?
I can't remember. I think when I was in the theater, I think it was difficult. But now that I've seen it so many times, I've probably seen it like 5 times now.
It is easier the more you watch.
It's way easier. Like, I know exactly when they're going back.
I don't think I really struggled, maybe like once or twice, where I wanted to rewind in the theater, which you obviously can't.
Yeah. Well, and especially once you notice the coloring, like Marcos mentioned, once you notice how the scenes change in color on the time, that makes it a lot easier to follow as well.
Yeah. So what would this movie get from you? I'm guessing it's your highest rating ever.
A+.
A+.
Yeah.
A++. I'm trying to think of my rating. I really like the movie. Easily rewatchable for me.
He cries every time he watches it.
No, just that one part. The one part where Mr. Lawrence and Joe are talking.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Sweet. I just really tear up. I guess I would give it a 100. 95.
95, so an A.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great movie. Do you recommend it for couples, or do you think it's...
Yeah, I recommend it for couples. I recommend it for families. I recommend it for a mother-daughter date.
I don't know why. I don't recommend this for guys watching it by themselves.
Yeah, no, they'll get bored probably.
Yeah. When I watch it with you, it's just so nice. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it feels like a very nice movie for us to enjoy together.
Yeah, I agree. So
because men can't be that emotionally available on their own. They have to be pushed by some estrogen.
What? I don't know what you just said.
Cut that.
No, that was hilarious. I'm going to keep
it. No, it wasn't. You didn't like it.
Well, because you're calling me...
You didn't get it.
No, you're calling me not emotional.
No, I'm just saying, like, guys aren't gonna put themselves in that situation
Of course
on their
not.
own, and they won't stay in that situation where they're like watching a movie about girls growing up.
Let me refresh this. If you're a guy and you need a good date movie, this is it.
It's a good one.
It's a good one.
It's really, I mean, it's such a cozy movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I touched on that when I said it's a Christmas movie. It's a get some hot chocolate, put cozy socks on,
Get some
sit on the
tissues.
couch, get some tissues, and snuggle up.
Yeah. Yeah, great movie.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to talk about next week?
I was just thinking about movies that made you cry. So I was thinking like About Time.
No,
Or
not...
Emma. Emma would be good, but it's so similar to.
Yeah, it is. I was thinking,
drama.
what about, we were looking at that list of top 10 movies from 2019.
Oh, yeah.
There was Jojo Rabbit, The Joker. There was The Irishman. I think all of those are interesting. I hadn't seen The Irishman.
Or
But...
we could talk about Schitt's Creek.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
Maybe a short one.
We will leave it up to next week.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you so much for listening. We were Marcos and
Paulina.
Nice.
Ba-da-ba-bow-bow.
Is that our ending song?
Ba-da-ba-bow.
Oh, I interrupted you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. There we go.
All right, cool.
Poosh.